Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is the update for Infernity Chimera plus the Hecahands, and I have been testing these cards for too long. I think the Mankibuel and the new Trap and also the new Fusion, the Dandalos, and these cards are really good. Continuous Trap is a snatch steal that you can do that every single turn, which is crazy, but the Mankibuel isn't that great because it can only fusion summon the Hecahand fusions, so that's why I'm playing Joza and the Dandalos, because Joza you can just summon it through the standard stuff from Ibel. Ibel summons the Gygas. By the way, I'm playing the Brios as well because of the spell, that's why. But what Mankibuel does is, if your Gygas doesn't resolve, you can then use the Mankibuel, fusion Mankibuel and the Gygas, going to the Joza that way. There are so many ways that you can just use the Mankibuel, and also Mankibuel being able to recycle itself if your illusion monster gets sent to the graveyard. So yeah, this deck is really crazy. Just standard Infernity Chimera, yep, triple Archfiend, double Necromancer, triple Nightmare Apprentice, triple Gazelle, these are your best starters, triple Chimera, triple Poly is fantastic of course, triple Usurpation, and Brios is actually really broken when it does actually hit a monster in your hand, in your opponent's hand, but when it does, it's basically like you hand looped your opponent. And Brios plus the Chimera fusion, that's basically 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, that's actually kind of broken. But yeah, in this game I'm going first, and this is a really good hand, so yeah, just start with Nightmare Apprentice, discard the Masquerader, add the Sword Knight effect, tribute itself, special summon the Gazelle, yep, use the Gazelle effect, add the Chimera fusion, use the Yaddle, and in the situations when, like in this, when you just have one Hecahands, or maybe even no Hecahand monsters, then you're not going to be adding the Mankibuel. Mankibuel is here just to, just in case if you draw multiple Hecahands, then you can just, yeah, use the Mankibuel, reveal itself, fusion summon it and the Yaddle or the Ibel, and then you can use either of the effects to either special summon a illusion, either special summon a Hecahands from the graveyard, or reset the spell or trap. So yeah, Mankibuel is just in that situations, and the Hecahands bait is really good because it's a continuous trap and it's a snatch steal every single turn, and that is low-key really broken because the previous support for Hecahands was just 2 traps that are basically like Infernity Barrier but split into 2 cards. Now you have a snatch steal that you can use it every single turn, which is broken, and it makes itself basically live because you can just, you know, use the bait, tribute the Joza, take control of the opponent's monster, and then you can use the trap again on the next turn. So yeah, by the way, this is crazy because I used the Brios, sniped out the Gishki Abyss, so that's basically hand loop for 1, use the Chimera fusion, that's hand loop for 2, and my opponent is going to start with 3 cards on their next turn, 3 cards plus 1 draw of course, and yeah, they lost the Sea Needle, and they have to play around basically so many interruptions, and you're wondering why are there no Hecahands on the field? Well, there is of course a way to bring back the Hecahands on the board, and that is the Chimera fusion, because Chimera fusion can banish itself to special summon a beast, fiend, or illusion monster. So that means that I can just bring back any Hecahands because they're all illusions. And yeah, I think that in this case I do. Yeah, so they use the Grimness, I use the Caesar, and chain the Chimera to bring back the Joza, and Joza now makes the Hecahands bait live, so that's fantastic. But my opponent didn't really draw well, you can see. I used the break to pop the one of the face downs, and also yeah, I'm just trying to assure that I have no cards that if my opponent does have something, you can see here that it was a bluff, but if it was something, I can just use the Infernity Barrier and yeah, just stop the face down, and yeah, go for the Chimera, the Baphomet fusion, and yeah, I'm not gonna use the effect, just go for the game. And yeah, and in this game I'm going second, and I'm playing against Punks, and they drew a really good hand, maybe minus the Deer Note, but the Deer Note in Punks, pure Punks, is not bad because of course it's a extender, and yeah, I think that pure Punks is playing double Deer Note because yeah, understandable. And yeah, they add the field spell. Yep, now go for the Jam Dragon Drive. And also, yeah, bring back the Rising Carp. Yep, pay 8, add the Madden Spider. Here I use the Gygas because, yeah, they're going to summon the Jam Fever, and I don't really wanna, I don't want my Gigas to get negated. They go for the Titanic Galaxy, then they go for Chariot Cherry, which is crazy. So they're playing Punks plus the Gold Pride, which, yeah, I haven't seen this deck in years. Yeah, I think like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, this deck is really good, but is it power crept? Maybe, but it's still really good. And yeah, they do the standard Gold Pride stuff. Yep, summon the Leon and the Captain Carry. I use the Ebel. They immediately just shotgun the Jam Fever, which is really bad because I can just use the Ebel to just bring back the Gygas. And Gygas is not gonna even resolve the effect because they're just going to synchro into the Star Leon, pop the Gygas, and now I use the Nightmare Apprentice, discard the Buyo, and go Chainlink 1 Nightmare Apprentice, Chainlink 2 Buyo because I value the Nightmare Apprentice more. Yep, normal summon the Swordmaster. They use the Call By on the Sword Knight, and yeah, I used the Polymerization. I don't know why they didn't negate the Polymerization with the Titanic Galaxy, but I mean, understandable because I have the Mutiny as a follow-up. But if they knew that that's basically my only play is just Polymerization, that's it, they would have definitely negated Polymerization, but it's good that they didn't. Yep, send the Masquerader, use the Masquerader, banish the Poly, use the Masquerader, send the Infernity Archfiend, go for a Split Tonight, and banish the Titanic Galaxy so they don't have a way to negate either my Mutiny or the Archfiend Usurpation. Fusion summon the Duke of Demise, use the Usurpation, set the plate time, spare summon the Infernity Archfiend, use the Archfiend. Yep, grab the Reaper because I just want to bait out the last back row. And yeah, using Reaper, bring back the Infernity Archfiend. I don't know why they use the Ghost Ogre or on Infernity Archfiend, because not only does that trigger the Reaper to reset itself, that's also just a way to get my Archfiend off the board, because if they didn't use the Ghost Ogre, I would have to link off the Duke of Demise and Infernity Archfiend to link 2, then bring back the Infernity Archfiend. But yeah, this just made my life even easier. Yep, bring back the Archfiend, grab the Infernity Launcher, go for Epidocus. Epidocus make Duke of Demise a light fiend, go into sequence now. Yep, go for Perfumed Fusion, not gonna use the effect because I already fusion summoned the Perfumed, which is Yep, use the Launcher, bring back Necromancer and Archfiend. Yep, bring back the Archfiend again, trigger the Crush Ship as well, bring back the second Archfiend, but this Archfiend cannot resolve because I have a card in my hand. Go for Underworld Goddess, negate the Jam Fever, attack over the Jam Fever with the Underworld Goddess, and I cannot attack directly because of the Espelita Knight effect, but it's okay because I have a double barrier and also the Reaper as follow-up, which is crazy. They use the field spell to special summon the Madden Spider, then also they try to special summon the Dragon Drive, right? The level 8. Let me just see. Dragon Drive. But I can just use the Underworld Goddess to negate that. They try to use the Foxy Tomb, but I can negate that. And yeah, my opponent has nothing. I have the Yaddle, use the Yaddle. Yep. The Hecahands, and just attack for game. And in this game I'm going first, and this person, by the way, recognized me, which is really cool, and they're playing a cool list. I don't know why they're not showing their hand. It's something like Ojama, something like Melfi, Ojama, and also Hecahands, which is kind of odd, but also kind of cool. Yeah, they use the multiplying Kuribo to summon another Kuribo. And I go for Jawza, Hecahands, set the trap. Yep, I use the Brius, special summon itself. They send the freaking Oja magic, so they go +3 basically. Special summon the Ojama Green, which was actually really helpful in this situation, because you can see here I have a illusion monster, And also basically all of my monsters were illusion monsters, but the Ojama Green is a beast monster, so I can just use the polymerization to fuse off the, what's its name, the Evil and the Ojama Green to go into the Baphomet, which requires a beast, fiend, or illusion. So yeah, that met the requirements. Yep, spare some of the Gygas, and use the Baphomets and the Archfiend Darius. Yep, use the Archfiend Usurpation, set the playtime, had to normal summon the Apprentice because I cannot get her out of my hand any other way. Spare some of the Archfiend, go for Underworld Goddess, negate the Multiplying Karibo, and now yeah, use the Necromancer, bring back the Infernity Archfiend now, yep, grab another Necromancer, go for, yeah, Sequence. So yeah, as I said, I'm only using the Fiendsmiths, the Requiem and the Sequence just for fusion summoning purposes. I don't play Engraver or Lacrima. Yeah, go for Underworld Goddess again. I didn't link off the Multiplying Karibo, which is a misplay on my part, but yeah, it's completely fine because yeah, my opponent can try to break my board, but it's going to be very, very hard. And yeah, just Infernity Archfiend, grab the barrier, use the Plutonite, yeah, banish the Multiplying Karibo, then use the Necromancer, bring back the Infernity Archfiend again, grab the Infernity Break, and yeah, a lot of interruptions. And the first thing my opponent does is they use the Jack in the Hand, which is really bad for Infernity because I forgot that Jack in the Hand gives me a level 1 as well in my hand, which kills 2 of my barriers and Infernity Break, and that's really bad. And here, yeah, there's normal summon the Ojama Green, then there's the Link Spider, but luckily Multiplying Karibo can just trigger and special summon itself from the hand, which is fantastic. And now my breaks and barriers are live, and yeah, here it is, Hecahands bait, take control of the rank 3, and yeah, use the Infernity Break, pop the face down, which was Ojama Duo, which is okay. Use the bait, send rank 3, yep, take control of the Kukiyami, use the Azalea, pop the Link Spider. Now summon the Gazelle, add the Chimera Fusion, go for the Chimera Fusion, yep, use the Infernity Necromancer, bring back the Infernity Archfiend, yep, use Archfiend, grab another Archfiend, then Jawza. Jawza adds the Evil, now you add back the Chimera Fusion, yep, go for the Baphomet and also the Evil, special summon the Brias, yep, yeah, send the Buyo, set the Mutiny, use the Brias, but I have no monster zones to special summon it, but it's okay. And yeah, they use the Ojama Duo to jump block, and also I use the barrier to negate the Ojama Blue because that's gonna be too many resources. And yeah, the Hecahands bait is also really good because you can see here that I don't have a Link monster, and I use the Hecahands bait to send the Mutiny. Why did I send the Mutiny without using its effect? Because in the next turn I can use the Mutiny in the Sky to send a Baphomet Fusion, for example, to then add back the Mutiny, and then I can use the Mutiny to shuffle my resources back into the extra deck, something like Underworld Goddess and the Sequence, for example. And then I can use the Aeroliter and then I can use the Aeroliter and 2 of my monsters and 1 of my opponent's monsters to go into the Underworld Goddess, then link off the Underworld Goddess and another monster into the Sequence. So you can see that, yeah, the Mutiny is really important, but in this case I couldn't use Mutiny, so I had to just send it with the Hecahands bait. And yeah, my opponent, yeah, goes with the pink, yep, summons the Snatchy. I do draw into Baphomet, but I can just discard it, negate the field spell. They use the Hecahands, yep, add the Evil, special summon the Gygas, yep, there's the Gygas, to special summon the Nightmare Apprentice, which is really broken because they can just add the Mankibuel. They use the Mankibuel, but I can just use the Hecahands bait to take control of their own Gygas. And yeah, and here I actually got a internet connection issue because yeah, the duel just cut out. But what I would have done is I would have tribute summoned the Masquerader for Infernity Archfiend and the Chimera Fusion. Normal summon the Masquerader. Don't have to use the effect. I could, but I don't really need to. And yeah, use the Mutiny, send the Perfumet, and then use the Mutiny, shuffle the resources back, like as I said, and yeah, just OTK my opponent. They have the Hecahands bait, but I can just, you know, link off the Nightmare Apprentice for the Underworld Goddess, and they don't have a monster that is controlled by, and they don't have the opponent's monster, which in this case it's my Nightmare Apprentice, so I was just gonna OTK easily. And in this game I'm going second, and my opponent bricked, and they just use the terraforming at the Megalith portal, which is okay, but yeah. And I start with the Gazelle. They use the Imperman Gazelle, which is a really good play. And yeah, I use the Yaddle, add the Hecahands, send the Gazelle, yep, add the Mankibuel, and you can see here that I added the Mankibuel in this case, because if my Ibel doesn't resolve, I can just use the Mankibuel to go into the Jawza. And yeah, here I special summon the Gygas, use the Gygas, and my opponent uses the second Imperm. And in this case I use the Mankibuel, fusion summon the Mankibuel and the Gygas to go into the Jawza. And now I didn't use the Jawza in this case because I already used the Ibel and the Yaddle. And yeah, I just used the Nightmare Apprentice, discard the Ares, add the Sword Knight. Actually, I do use the Jawza to special summon the Brias. Yep, and use the Brias. They use the to summon the Haggit. Yep, Haggit effect to it. The Unformed, use the Azalea, pop the Haggit, and I do pass here because I have already used my normal summon and Gazelle was negated, so I don't have a polymerization to go into any of my Chimera fusions. But yeah, I still have the Hecahands bait as an interruption. So they ritual summon the Ophiel. They try to use the Ophiel to ritual summon into full, but I can just use the bait to take control of their Ophiel. And also add back the Mankibuel. Why did I add back the Mankibuel even though I don't have another Hecahands in my hand? Because Mankibuel is a illusion monster, so that's really good because Mankibuel can means, because if you have Mankibuel in your graveyard, you can always reoccur Mankibuel to your hand to have a illusion monster in your hand, which is fantastic. And yeah, just use a Sword Knight, person the Gazelle, add the Chimera Fusion, go for the Crush Ship, now use the Chimera Fusion, yep, channel control need 2, bring back the Archfiend Darius. Why did I bring back the Archfiend Darius? Because I can just add back the Chimera Fusion to use the Chimera Fusion, fuse off the Archfiend Darius and the Perfumet Fusion to go into the Duke of Demise, trigger the Archfiend Darius because it was sent by the card effect. Yep, normal summon the Duke of Demise. And now I have two ways to bring back the Infernity Archfiend. So one of the way is Infernity Necromancer, and the second way is the playtime. Special summon the Infernity Archfiend. Yep, grab the barrier, use the Mutiny. Yep, fusion summon to the Aeroliter. Use the Aeroliter just to send the Buyu. And this is, I think, is this enough for a game? Let me just see. Yeah, it is. So, and yeah, so here's the decklist again. So as I said, Mankibuel is really useful when you draw multiple Hecahands, and also if you draw Gygas or Brias, because they are super bricky, you can then find a way to get to Mankibuel, which you have so many ways to get to Mankibuel. You have triple Nightmare Apprentice, you have triple Gazelle, you have of course the Mirror Sword Knight, you have the Kotal, so you basically have what? You have 3, 6, 8 ways to Mankibuel, and also Mankibuel himself, so that's basically 9 copies of Mankibuel, which is really good. And yeah, Mankibuel being able to get rid of the Gygas or the Brios as your bricks is really helpful. Also, you can just get rid of the Yaddle and the Ibel, and then to trigger their effects. So yeah, Mankibuel is really broken, but the Hecahand bait was also even more broken because I really liked using the Hecahands bait to just, take control of the opponent's monster, then use it again during the next turn, and then just keep on taking control of the opponent's monster, which is really good. And I didn't use the Daedalus, which is another way to take control of the opponent's monster. But unfortunately, I didn't use the Daedalus, but it's okay. But yeah, here are also some suggestions. You can play the Goddess, but Goddess does need a monster in the opponent's graveyard, which you won't really have most of the time. You can also play the Hecahands, the Ib and the Yaddle, but as I said at the beginning of the video, I don't really like them because they're basically barrier split into 2 cards, which is really bad. Also, you can play the Nightmare Hand, which is really good because if your Gygas doesn't resolve, you can then use the Nightmare Hand, send the Masquerader, then banish the Nightmare Hand, special summon a monster from the opponent's graveyard, and then you have a Hecahands monster, and then you have a Hecahands monster on the field and a opponent's monster, so you can just go for Jawza. But I think that I did initially play this card, but I didn't really like it because there are so many ways to get around your opponent negating your Gigas. Also, you can play the Nightmare Hand. Nightmare Hand is really good because it can send any illusion from the deck to the graveyard. So you can just send the Masquerader. But I cut the Nightmare Hand because there are so many ways to send the illusions from the deck to the graveyard. But why did I consider this card? Not for the first effect, but for the second effect, because it can banish itself to special summon a monster from the opponent's graveyard. So that means that if your Gigas or Brias doesn't resolve, you can then just use the Nightmare Hand, banish itself, special summon a monster from the opponent's graveyard, then you have a Hecahands monster on the board, and also a opponent's monster. So you can go into the Jawza. Jawza can then add the hidden Hecahands, and yeah, just so that you can continue your combo. But as I said, you don't really need that. You have so many ways to get to a illusion, or a way to get rid of the Gygas, or special summon a opponent's monster to your field, so you don't really need that. Also, I'm seeing here that I'm not even playing Dark. Dark would have been really good in this case, because it's also another monster that is owned by your opponent, so you can play Dark as well. You can also play Lucy, but the extra deck is really tight. Maybe you can cut the Daedalus, but Daedalus is kind of good going second. You can also play the Hecahands Xeno, but Hecahands Xeno requires 3 freaking Hecahands monsters, which means that you have to play even more Hecahands, so I don't really want to brick on them even more. I mean, they're not really bricky, except when you just draw multiple Yaddle or Ibel, because they are hard ones per turn. And if you use them once, you cannot use them again. But I mean, Mankibuel is there to resolve that issue. And yeah, you can also play the Tartarus. Tartarus is decent because you can definitely set that from the hidden Hecahands, but you don't really need that. You only need the hidden Hecahands and also the Hecahands bait, which is a really good duo, because you can use the hidden Hecahands to just add the Ibel or Yaddle, whichever you didn't use, set the Hecahands bait. Even though these are just 3 cards, by the way, these cards have improved Infernity Chimera Hecahands so much that you have so many more pushes now, and also you have more interruptions with Hecahands, because in the past I would either run Yaddle or Ibel, not both of course, because they are super bricky. But I definitely like playing the Hecahands bait just as a one-off, because if you draw this in your starting hand, you don't really care, because if you have a way to get a Hecahands on the board, which you have so many ways to get to that. You have a Snatch Sylph every single turn basically, which is really, really good. That's it gonna be for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon and goodbye.